Hello everyone, today I'll show you how to clean your radiator on a Peugeot 308 with a T9 body. What are the subtleties? What to watch out for? The first thing I would begin with is to decide whether you need to clean the radiator at all. Look, to understand this you simply need to look at it, it's quite visible. Furthermore, there's the bottom part of the radiator which is covered by flaps or technically speaking, the air intake unit. It is usually closed. The very bottom part of the radiator, the one that is behind. It's usually the dirtiest. As a general rule, here's a small lyrical digression. Why wash the radiator at all? It's dirty, well, who cares, many would say. If we are to sum up my personal opinion and the opinions of internet experts, and I'm not being sarcastic, a clean radiator means proper cooling for the engine, which is what the engineers intended. If the radiator is dirty, it won't cool properly. Cooling radiators often come on when they shouldn't. Obviously, in the summer heat, in a traffic jam, clean or dirty, the radiator fan will most likely be running non-stop. If you don't care about cleaning the radiator, your car won't explode, and it's unlikely your engine will overheat. So what's the point? Why bother with an unnecessary job as many think? You see, in neglected situations, your engine will permanently operate in a state of stress, if you will. When your radiator is clean, you just drive and your engine gets cooled by the air breeze. Everyone is content. A dirty radiator, however, necessitates the forced operation of the cooling fan, because without it, it can't reach its needed temperature. In a traffic jam with a clean radiator, your fan is operating and everything is okay. But with a dirty radiator, the fan turns on, it can't cope, and the air supply module opens. With a real car, the module is essentially redundant and only works when the car is in motion. In other words, your cooling system operates at its limit, where it could just work in routine mode and not overwork itself. So why then do many people never wash, never clean anything? They're doing fine. I suppose the answer is simple. Let's just say every cooling system has a certain level of durability in all of its parts, starting from the radiator to, a mildly overheated engine block. So if you hammer the bolt on the radiator frequency, then this resource margin of safety naturally decreases. The fan engine too has its own lifespan and number of on cycles or engine hours, and the air intake module also has an engine and hinges that experience increased wear. There's a lot more that could really be brought into this, some of it credible, some not, but I think you've caught the drift. So, hammer the bolts and drive as before, or periodically, at least once every few years. Devote some attention to this unit. Well, it's up to you to decide. The spiel is over. Now let's get down to business. To get full access to the radiator without any interference, all you need is to unscrew 4 bolts and 2 screws. Nothing complex. The head is for 10. And the bolts got unscrewed, I suppose, but no. It'll probably be the same for you too. Here's my previous owner. I don't know what he was up to, but in an attempt to either tighten or loosen the headlight, he busted the fastening of one bolt. So I had to drill and replace it with a regular new bolt is a very unusual situation. Actually, there are plenty of questions. How was it possible to rip off this threaded part? It's beyond me why you'd want to twist it with such force, but that's not the point. And since we've touched this topic, when you're twisting, it's clear that you don't need to demonstrate how strong you are. Here's what you need to do. Lubricate the bolts with any grease, even a bit. Sadly, the threaded part is made of normal metal. It rusts with all the consequences that follow. Bolts are regular too, they're quite corroded. As for the screws, you'll need a T20 star bit. Further, let's remove this shield. Just be cautious. Of course, the previous owner already broke one out of 3 fixtures. All of this just needed to be carefully pried off thereafter. We have everything unscrewed, but something is still holding it. These are 4 plastic fixtures. They simply snap off. Yet again, do everything meticulously. And let's just say, the last step is, you need to remove one headlight. Theoretically, you can try to do everything without removing it, but it's going to be very uncomfortable and there's high likelihood of breaking some of the fixtures. So it's simpler to remove the headlight, firstly marking the bolts so you won't have to adjust it afterwards. Everything's easy here. Disconnect the power and unscrew the 10mm bolt. That's it, the headlight is easy to remove. After the headlight, we take out this plastic element. We all have excellent and chic access to the radiator. At least to the radiator of the air conditioner, since it goes. First, if you need access to the main radiator, then you need to disassemble a little more, but I looked into the gap between the radiators and there is nothing terrible, nothing criminal to be honest. Then before the first radiator, specifically in my case, everything is quite good, everything is clean, garbage, flies of all sorts of other dirt, well, just a minimum. And if in a good and frank way, then it was possible not to wash it at all, but since I got there, then I washed what I have. For washing, I used a product from Astrahim. In general, it is not intended specifically for radiators, but for the car body. Insect cleaner, cleans really averagely. But the effect is there. I abundantly applied the product to the radiator, left it for about 3-5 minutes. After that, wash off the whole thing with water, preferably under pressure, but it's crucial not to push it. If you bring the high pressure gun too near, then with more pressure, you're likely to warp the honeycomb in the radiator and make the situation worse. You need to approach this wisely, therefore I suggest using a soft bristled brush. But again, do it gently so as not to bend the honeycomb. After this, wash everything off with a generous amount of water. Be careful, if you're using high pressure, don't direct the water into the air intake. That could be problematic. Then put everything back in reverse order. There is nothing difficult. If you ask me what changed in my case, well, the first thing is, in a grand scheme of things, nothing really. I already had everything relatively clean. I didn't even need to go in there. Secondly, how long does this process take? Considering that I was making a video of everything, it took me about half an hour. It'll probably take half that time for you for sure. Another bonus besides the main radiator, I recommend you check your intercooler radiator, which is located on the right, in front of the front wheel. You can even remove it without taking off the wheel, but naturally it is more convenient with the wheel removed. It's held on by just one screw. You can undo it with a T30 star bit, then you just pry it off with something, remove the inspection hatch, where you can then see its state, whether it needs washing or not. My one is all nice and clean, but I've seen photos of other owners where there were issues, questions. It would have definitely been better to wash. But it's up to you to decide. Well, I guess that's it for me. Nothing special to add here. Take care of your iron horse, and it will treat you the same in return, or an iron line, depending on how you see it. In total, good luck to everyone. On the roads, bye to all.